if they don't make it to the finals, then this might be one of the biggest L's in NBA history.
Hot topics.
All right, well, I want to give you an apology. Tyrese Haliburton may have proved me wrong.
The best analysis.
But Jokic, he might be the best player in the league this season. He really might be the MVP.
This is the Full Court Report.
And we're back. This time, just the two of us, Justin and Jorie. Yeah. Yeah. Should be a fun episode. No Toby, unfortunately, but he's load managing this one. It's all right.
Yeah,
We'll get him back.
Guys getting worked into the ground. He's got to take a game off.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. You might be like the Joel Embiid of the podcast.
Yeah.
You just gotta take some days off, but he'll be good. But yeah, we got a lot is going on. There's a lot more games being played. The regular season is underway. I know last episode we talked just kind of a lot of our initial takeaways from the season, but I think today we'll get a little bit more specific with some teams that have started the season well, haven't started the season well, etc. But before we do that, we did get some big news down in Orlando. Unfortunately, their star forward, Paolo Banchero, has been diagnosed with a torn right oblique, and he is expected to be reevaluated within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So, needless to say, I think it's a major blow to that team. And it sucks. I think it might have happened right after he had his 50-point game, which is, again, just a shame. It really felt like he was taking that next step to like superstardom. But this is just how it goes, I guess, in the NBA. I know last episode we talked about some injuries, but they're just going to keep coming throughout the season. But I guess really, like I said, a huge blow to this team. But how do you feel about this? Do you think Orlando is going to be able to survive without the play of Banchero?
I think they'll be all right. Paolo's currently averaging almost 29 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists. So he's putting up some numbers. The Magic are currently 3-3 at the time of this recording. They lost their game, I believe, to the Cavs after Paolo had not played in that game. I think they'll be all right. They don't have many players who can play the 3-4 position. I was looking at the roster. They really have Jonathan Isaac, other than, Franz, who's playing. But I think against the Cavs, they started KCP at the small forward and moved Franz to the power forward. So, they got a good team. They got a good deep team, a lot of guards, but, I think they'll be all right. I think they have a good enough supporting cast to stay afloat. They might not be, they might not have a winning record, but I think when it's all said and done, 4 to 6 weeks with no Paolo, I think they'll still be a playoff team.
Yeah, no, that's a good point about like that forward depth that they're kind of lacking. And I really like the Magic. I've always liked this team. I'm trying to think like at what point when they started drafting guys. I mean, I think Jalen Suggs and Franz came in the same season, and then Paolo the year after that. But like, they traded for Wendell Carter not too long ago. They drafted Anthony Black, who's been, pretty solid for them. Cole Anthony, my guy Gary Harris, they got him in that Aaron Gordon trade. So like they got a really solid roster. Mo Wagner, the brother of Franz, like they have a really solid roster. But again, like I thought the same exact thing when he got hurt. Like they don't really have that. Of all the positions for him to get hurt, I feel like that was the worst one. But
Yeah.
Like you said, I think, they have a really talented team. I I think the toughest part is just really like the offense that Paolo generates. I feel like that's the reason why they took him number one in that draft. Like, Chet Holmgren could be a Hall of Famer, down the line. But I felt like Paolo just has the ability to kind of get his own shot a lot better than Chet. I think he's a better passer. Um, so I think a lot of their offense runs through Paolo, and that could definitely hurt them. Not to say that, a guy like Franz can't, handle that load in Orlando, or Jalen Suggs for that matter. But I think it's just going to be a little difficult. You might see some games where they don't put up a ton of points. They struggle, minutes at a time to generate offense. But I don't know. I think their defense is probably still going to be elite. I think they have one of the best just defensive rosters in the whole league. Like, Jalen Suggs is one of my favorite players to watch defensively. KCP, obviously, a tremendous defender as well. Franz, can hold his own. And even like you said, like Jonathan Isaac off the bench, he's a great defender. So I think they're going to have to rely on that end, I think, to win a lot of games during this stretch. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I think as long as they stay afloat, they'll be okay. Just hover around 500, I think, during the stretch, and just try not to get too deep in the depths of the Eastern Conference, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it sucks because, again, like, Paolo was really taking that next step, and then just comes crashing down at the worst time. But this Orlando team with Paolo, I mean, they're very scary. I don't know what you believe about this team, but this team is legit, I think, and they're going to be contending, among the top teams in the East this season, I think.
Yeah, I said it, I don't know, a couple episodes ago. Or maybe, I don't, who knows? Maybe it was right at the beginning of our new season of Full Court Report, but I had said, maybe next year, the year after, depending on, if they can keep most of the roster around. I think the Magic might be, top of the East. They got a really
Yeah.
good young squad, a lot of homegrown talent. So if they can keep everybody together, most of the team together, they'll be real scary.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I really like this team, and I don't know. I feel like they just drafted really well the past couple of years, and that obviously can catapult you to the top of the conference, the top of the league, really. So they're gonna be a fun team moving forward. Um, I guess just one last thing, I guess, before we kind of move on. I would say, just based on watching this team during this stretch, I would like to see KCP get more shots,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know how many like total minutes I guess I've watched of this Magic team, but I feel like I've seen KCP shoot the ball like 3 times. And I'm like, this just feels like they're kind of underutilizing him. I don't know. Like, obviously I watched a ton of him when he was with the Nuggets, but I just feel like they're not really running plays for him. Like, I feel like if he doesn't get his shots kind of in the flow of the offense, like a swing type of deal, or drive and kick, whatever it is, like, he's just not really shooting as much. And he's a tremendous defender, like I said earlier, but I felt like he's also a fantastic three-point shooter, like one of the best in the league. And with no Paolo, I don't see why he wouldn't get more shots. I feel like he'll be efficient and, help that offense a little bit. So that's kind of, it's just one minor thing that I've noticed, but I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like he should be shooting more.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Gonna be tough, but they just gotta thug it out, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, get well soon, Paolo. You're
Yeah.
very fun to watch. And yeah. Shout
Yeah,
out the Magic.
he is slowly becoming one of my favorite players. It's like watching the next coming of Melo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. He's a fantastic player. Like, I felt like even as a rookie, um, I watched that team like very closely his rookie season, because I was just so intrigued by their team. And they didn't, obviously win a ton of games, but I felt like you could see this team kind of really coming together, and I'm like, yeah, they're gonna figure this out, and they're gonna be a good team for a while. So, but he's definitely like the key cog in that, I think. But like I said, I think they just gotta figure it out in the time being, and when he comes back, they just gotta keep the train going there. But yeah, man. Like I said, I kind of wanted to get a little specific with what we've seen through the start of the season. Like, last episode, we didn't really have much of a sample size. We still don't, teams have really only played like 5 or 6 games, but, teams are starting to separate themselves. We're seeing a little consistency with teams. So I figured let's touch on some teams that have been playing well, some teams that haven't been playing so well. But I want to start here with the Phoenix Suns and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, to me, and it's worth noting the Thunder are also undefeated right now. But I think they were my pick and Toby's pick for the final. So, not to say what they are doing isn't impressive, but I'm not totally like surprised, I guess, by their start to the season. But whereas Phoenix and Cleveland, Phoenix, they're off to a 4-1 start, so they're playing very well. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, they're averaging about 26 points a game. Beal, averaging about 18. Tyus Jones, who came in free agency, he's been a great pickup for them, and I think really transformed that offense to what it was supposed to be, like kind of just getting shots for Book and KD, just facilitating for those guys. And then Ryan Dunn, who's kind of like a sleeper, under the radar story of this season, a rookie who came in for Phoenix this season. I think he was billed as like, one of the best defenders in this year's draft. So a lot of people expected him to make an impact on that end. But what they didn't expect was him to, I think currently he's leading all rookies in threes. And the reason why that's weird is that in college, he only made 7 threes. I think in 34 games this past season. So like no one, that was just not at all on any scouting report of his. So it's just really funny that he's come in and kind of been shooting the ball like very well for them. And he's really been a great addition to the team, and I think really contributing to their success. So again, Phoenix off to a 4-1 start, or would you say Cleveland start? They're off to a 6-0 start. They just beat Orlando, like you mentioned yesterday. And I have a really interesting stat about this Cleveland team that I want to share. And this is it's one of those really random, like cherry pick stats to make a team look, I think, better than it is. But regardless, it's very interesting. So there's 9 teams, and Cleveland is the 9th team in NBA history to start 5-0, win their first 5 games with an average point differential. You know how just how much you outscore your opponent of 18 or more, 18 points or more. So again, there's 9 teams now that Cleveland has done it. The other 8 teams, I'm going to run down this list. It's the 64-65 Celtics. That team, they went 62-18. Bill Russell was the MVP, and they won a title. You have the 66-67 76ers. They went 68-13. Wilt Chamberlain was the MVP that year, and they won a title. You have the 71-72 Milwaukee Bucks. They went 63-19. Kareem won MVP, and they lost in the conference finals. This team, probably the least, I guess, notable, the 82-83 Supersonics. They went 48-34, and they actually got swept in the first round. So they're kind of an outlier in this little stat here, but worth noting. And then now we kind of get to the modern era. The 08-09 Lakers, they went 65-17. Kobe was second in MVP that season, second in MVP voting, and they won a title. The 09-2010 Celtics, they went 50-32 that season, and they lost in the finals to the Lakers in 7 games. Then you have the 15-16 Warriors,
Mm,
73-9 Warriors, Steph MVP, and then obviously we all know the 3-1 comeback
the
that they
goat.
lost in the finals. And then last year Celtics, 2023-2024 Boston Celtics, 64-18. They obviously won a title. Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP, Jason Tatum, All NBA first team, I believe. So I don't know. Again, very weird stat. 5-0 start with a point differential of 18 or more. So like it's just random, but like interesting to me. Like
Yeah,
that this
yeah.
team, and I don't know. The Cavs are a very interesting team. Like to me, I don't know many teams really that have four guys the level of Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and Darius Garland. Like I'm thinking off the top of my head, like the Celtics, like they're kind of core four. If you think it's like Tatum, Brown, Drew Holiday, Dirk White, or and Porzingis, pick any four. That's a great 4-man combination. But like, I mean, maybe your Knicks even, but do they have the chemistry that this Cavs team has?
Not
So
quite.
it's like, it's interesting. Like they have a very and their roster isn't even that top heavy. I feel like they have good depth as well. But I don't know. They got a lot of great players. They're off to a great start. So what do you think?
Well, I was looking at all of the, games that these two teams have played so far. The Suns, this is from, like first game of the season up until the most recent. The Suns beat the Clippers in LA, lost to the Lakers in LA. That's their only loss. They beat Dallas at home, beat the Lakers at home, and then beat the Clippers in LA again. Their only win by double digits was against Dallas. Every other win, it's been a tight game. Like they've been really grinding until the last, like the buzzer at the end of the game. But they've been getting dubs. I did sort of expect them to be better than last season because last season I don't even think, their big three of KD, Beal, and Booker, I don't even think they played 20 games together. I could be totally off, but I really don't think they even played that many games together. So I was kind of expecting them, come in, everybody's healthy. They'd probably figure it out. Like they'd probably you can't be that bad with that good of a big three. The Cavs, however, obviously haven't lost a game, but three of their wins are against teams who are probably going to be at the bottom of the East. The Raptors, the Pistons, and the Wizards. I hope the Pistons aren't at the bottom of the East, but I think they're like 1-5 or 1-6, currently. So, and the one game was against Orlando with no Paolo. So I feel like the Cavs might be getting a little lucky with the schedule at this point of the season. They did beat my Knicks and they beat the Lakers, but they haven't really been playing the best teams. But I don't want that to take away from, I think the Cavs have surprised me more because from what I know, their roster is not much different than last season. And they were just losing, not a lot, but they were losing some games that they should have been winning last season, I feel like. And I would not have expected them to start 6-0. So I think I'm going to go with the Cavs and say that they have definitely surprised me more than the Phoenix Suns have.
All right. Yeah, no, I mean, I totally understand like the the strength of schedule argument for Cleveland, but I feel like I feel like whenever you go on the road and get a win, that's a good sign. And then like you said, a win at New York, that's a great win for them. And then that Lakers win, even though it was a home game, that's it's a LeBron coming home. Bronny James is in the building. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of emotion to that game when it's LeBron in Cleveland. So for them to win that game, I think by 24 is like very impressive. And the Lakers at that point, they had started the season well, so it's not like they just weren't like a good Lakers team. They were still solid. But yeah, man, I don't. I think Cleveland's start has been very impressive, and I'm just very intrigued by this team. I mentioned at the start of the season, like Evan Mobley is kind of like my guy to watch. But shout out Kenny Atkinson, man. He might be gunning for Coach of the Year in his first season in Cleveland. So I don't know if they keep winning like they are. I don't see why he wouldn't. So, but yeah, man. Shout out both those teams. I'm sure they're both going to make the playoffs, and I'm curious to see what they do when they get there. But on the other end of the spectrum, you got two teams that have kind of been underperforming. You got the Milwaukee Bucks, who are off to a 1-4 start, and then the Denver Nuggets, who just last night lost a tough game to Minnesota. They're 2-3 at the moment. And I had some stats on both teams. So the Bucks are the 39th team to have 4 double-digit losses in the first 5 games of a season, and only 6 of those teams have went on and made the playoffs. So not a great, obviously you can, when you have a guy like Giannis, when you have a guy like Dame, anything is possible. Not to say they're out of the count already, but not the way you wanted to start the season. And then for Denver, in the first 4 games, so not including that game against Minnesota, Denver had scored just 72 points when Jokic was off the floor, like as a team, which is very bad, just to say the least. So yeah, man. I mean, I feel like I can speak way more to the Nuggets, but I don't know. Like both teams, not what you want to see. I see like Giannis is, those trade rumors are starting to swirl now. Like, does he want out? I don't know about that. I feel like they'd be ridiculous to trade a guy like Giannis, but anything is possible. We've seen. I don't know. What do you think, Milwaukee or the Nuggets?
Well, I don't really know. Your Nuggets, your only 2 wins are in overtime against the Brooklyn Nets and the Raptors. So that's not the greatest thing. But to be honest, your bench is lacking. Your bench really is not as good as it once was. So I'm not too surprised that, I mean, they're a game under 500, or I don't know if the game against the Timberwolves made them 2-4, but I think they're 2-3.
Yeah, 2-3.
Okay, yeah. So it's that's not a terrible start. 1 game under 500, 5 games in, big whoop. Nothing to get worried about really. But the Bucks, their only win is against the Sixers with no Embiid or Paul George. They lost to the Bulls and the Nets. I mean, I was really hoping, based off that 1 game against the Sixers, that they'd be, mid-season form, kind of. Like, I know it's only the first game, but I figured they'd be, we'd be seeing an MVP Giannis, 3rd best shooter of all time, Damian Lillard. But I gotta say, I really, I don't hate to be a hater, but yeah, I really do like the Bucks. I like a lot of the players that are on the Bucks, but if you have Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham leading your team, you're destined to be terrible. Like, like I
It's
don't know.
that
That
bad.
guy, they never should have got rid of my boy Adrian Griffin.
Yeah.
The
It looks
Bucks are
worse and worse
really,
every day.
I think the Bucks, if they continue on, this, streak of not playing well, they might be the most disappointing team in the league.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I said it during a early episode of this season. I was like, unless Doc Rivers has like a coaching masterclass, like this team is not going to be as good as people think. And I don't know. I felt like defensively, I mean, I think that's just the biggest thing. Like defensively, they don't look the same when you lose a guy like Drew Holiday. Like as great as Dame is offensively, I felt like what Drew Holiday can do just defensively and just all the intangible things that he does, like the little things. I don't know. It's just hard to make up. And I also think Brooke Lopez, I'm not saying get rid of the guy completely, but I wouldn't mind a change at center. Like to me, I think if they had more of like a mobile, like I don't know, like a guy like Daniel Gafford just comes to mind. You know,
Mm,
someone like that, like someone who can be like a lob threat. You know, really bouncy. You know, a little bit more mobile than Brooke Lopez. I felt like Brooke Lopez, obviously, I think a great defender the past couple of years, but just doesn't really have the foot speed. I feel like to defend the way they want to defend.
hmm
And I think changing that could potentially help this team. But I think defensively, just in the backcourt, it's just I don't know. It's Drew Holiday. Like he might be the best defender in the whole league, period. And when you lose someone like that, it just changes everything, and it just makes you reliant on Dame to have huge games and Giannis have huge games. But my Nuggets, man, it's rough. It really is rough. Like Jokic, I think, is just getting taxed with the amount of work he has to do to keep this team in games. And I think the starting lineup is fine. Like, you're not going to have a great game from Jamal every night. You're not going to have a great game from like MPJ every night. But like everyone steps up in their own little ways throughout the game. So like when their five, starters are on the floor, I feel like they're pretty solid and they look like the team that won the finals a couple years ago. Christian Brown has been fantastic for them too. Um, but yeah, like the bench, it just feels like that no one really knows what their role is. Like it just feels like Russ doesn't really know like when to shoot, when to pass, when to cut. Dario Saric, like he's not making the impact that he has in the past, like kind of being a playmaking hub, just making shots in the post. Peyton Watson is kind of always just been a guy that doesn't have like a true position and kind of just does whatever he can out on the floor. Um, and then Julian Strawther, who was a rookie last season, is kind of like their sixth man now. And it's kind of crazy because that guy was not playing very many minutes last year. And now he's thrusted into this role where he's like, you got to come off the bench basically and be the leading scorer. And I don't know. Like, I think he's a great player and a great prospect, but I don't know if that's if that's what you want as your sixth man right now. It's just tough. So I don't know. I see a lot of people saying Jokic is going to get burnt out like halfway through the season if he has to carry like the way he is. Like he's playing phenomenal. Like Jokic, it looks like the MVP again. But yeah, it's just when he's off the floor, man, it just looks rough. So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar with the Bucks and Giannis. I don't know. It was their last game. I can't remember who they were playing, but it was their last game. Giannis had a plus minus of 0. So when he was on the floor, they were even with whoever they were playing. When he was not on the floor, the Bucks got outscored by 32 points.
jeez.
So, I don't really know too much about the Bucks roster, like, the backups, but I feel like they both might be in the same position where if the starters, aren't up 20 compared to the other team starters, your benches just don't have it. You don't have the depth.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I guess my fix for the Nuggets, uh, I would say Michael Porter Jr. shoot more shots. Don't listen to all the haters that say, "Oh, never seen a bad shot in his life, Porter Jr." Like if I'm the Nuggets, I want him basically behind Jokic in shots taken. I think there's so many times where I think with any other player, I'd be like, oh, that's a horrible shot, like a step back contested three. Like, what is this guy doing? But you forget, like he's 6'10", and a lot of times he's being defended by smaller wings or even guards, and he's just shooting over them. And he's so efficient. I just feel like he's the guy that should be getting the most shots right now, at least. Like I'm not saying forever, but to get through, this stretch, I guess I think he needs more shots. But
He's just
That's
gotta
just my 2 cents. I
he's
think
gotta
that's
lock in like Chris Smoove. I keep seeing these memes about 2K. People just be like, I'm wide open. I'm gonna let it fly. That's how MPJ's got to start thinking. Any
yeah.
space at all, just let that thing fly, bro. Hand down, man down. Even if a hand is up, just shoot over him.
Yeah, because like I think you lose KCP and Christian Brown, like I said, has been great. Defensively, he's been great. But he's not the 3 point threat I think that KCP is. And I think the threes that you lose and when you lose KCP, I feel like should be made up by MPJ. And even if that's only like two or three threes a game, I feel like that could change a lot because I mean, even in their game against the Timberwolves last night, like it was a pretty close game, and I felt like, he hits one or two more threes, they win that game. So, but I don't know. We can move on to another surprise, and this one, honestly, this is probably I don't know. This is tough, but the Lakers. I know we talked about them a little bit ago with Cleveland, losing to Cleveland, but like I said, they're off to a really good start. Anthony Davis in particular, I mean, pretty sure at the moment he's leading the league in points, like points per game and just total points, I believe. So great start for AD, JJ Redick. He's getting a lot of praise for his coaching. But you also have the Warriors, you know, same thing. Aging superstar Steph Curry. I think he has missed two of their games, but the Warriors are still 4-1. Off to a great start. Buddy Hield has come in and honestly looks fantastic. Looks like you know what Buddy Hield used to be, and but I feel like they're just getting contributions from a lot of different players. But yeah, I mean, what do you think between these two squads that have had some pretty hot starts to the season?
Well, AD, bro, I don't know. I could not fact check you about him leading the league in scoring, but he is averaging almost 32, 31.8 points per game, 12 rebounds per game. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot. You could really pick any superstar nowadays to be the MVP, but right now, I gotta say, AD might be my MVP. Just like I said, 32 points per game, 12 rebounds. You got LeBron averaging 22, almost 7 and 7. But Austin Reeves is averaging 17, 5 and 5. Austin Reeves, he's been one of my favorite players the last couple of years, but he's really been balling this year. Um, like you said, JJ Redick, everybody says that he's doing a phenomenal job, and I agree. But just like you said, the Warriors, I'm going to tell you right now, the Warriors at this point might be the most, they might have surprised me the most out of all the teams. Their only losses to the Clippers and Buddy Hield and Andrew Wiggins are both scoring more than Steph Curry. Buddy Hield is leading the Warriors in scoring at like
Yeah.
21 a game, I'm pretty sure. The reason I think it's so surprising that the Warriors are doing this well is because other than the 2011-2012 season, Steph Curry has career lows in field goal attempts, his lowest 3-point attempts per game since 2014-15, which cannot remember, but he might have been injured a lot that year, might have been his ankles, and he's having his lowest points per game since that 2011-2012 season. So, you know, he's basically having the worst year of his career. Basically, I'm not hating. I'm not hating. I'm just saying, according to the stats, he's having maybe his worst year of his career. And they're still 4-1. And I gotta say, I don't think me, you, or Toby would have thought that they would have even started 5 games with a winning record. So
Yeah.
I gotta say, I love seeing my boy Buddy Hield cook. I've always liked Andrew Wiggins, so I'm glad to see, him contributing to, being the number 2 option and winning, having a winning team. But I saw a quote by Buddy Hield. Uh he said, "I haven't been this free since I played at Oklahoma." meaning like
Yeah.
he hasn't been getting this good of shots or just been balling like this since college. And I mean, I don't know. That's surprising because when he was in college, I was a little disappointed in how he started in the NBA because I really liked Buddy Hield at Oklahoma. But yeah, I gotta say, I really thought the Warriors were gonna be one of the worst teams in the West, and here they are, 4-1.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's having this is a career high in scoring for Buddy Hield. Right. I mean, obviously that could change. It's 5 or 6 games, but you know, interesting. You don't really see that normally, I guess. I mean, I don't know. He's 32. That could still be considered like someone's prime. But I don't know, man. It's that team is definitely interesting. I really thought Jonathan Kuminga was going to be a bigger part of this team. I think he's been playing like solid, but um, I really thought he was going to be like their top player. But I really like what they're getting from everyone because it's you got him, Brandon Pajemski, who came in last year as a rookie and was really impactful for them. Like you said, Andrew Wiggins coming back and looking like older Andrew Wiggins, what we're accustomed to. Draymond Green is he's just gonna be out there doing things. It's Draymond till the day he retires. Um, and then Trace Jackson Davis, who honestly I didn't think was gonna be anything special in the league, but I felt like going to the Warriors I think helped him a lot. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think he just
Well,
benefits playing in that offense a lot.
you had mentioned Jonathan Kuminga, and I don't have any notes on him. I didn't look at his stats or anything, but I was watching my boy No Chill Gilbert Arenas. I was watching his podcast, and he actually brought up a pretty good point. I don't know if Kuminga coming off the bench is working. Like, I don't know if that's something that, the Warriors like that he's coming off the bench instead of starting, but they were obviously in contract negotiations over the offseason, and they didn't agree on a contract. Jonathan Kuminga wanted, a lot of money. I don't know the numbers exactly, but the Warriors weren't willing to, pay that much. So, uh, Gill's, theory is that they purposefully put him on the bench so that when, you know, he finally gets a contract or is receiving offers from other teams, they're not going to be giving him, starter money. They're going to be giving him six-man money. And Gilbert Arenas is, he was saying that might help the Warriors because they'll be able to re-sign him for what they wanted to sign him for, this past offseason. And other teams are going to be like, yeah, we're not giving you that max either because you're a bench player. So, I'm hoping that Jonathan Kuminga, plays well and doesn't let any of this get to him. But we could see Jonathan Kuminga in, a different uniform next season.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, I made a video about him. Shout out, if you want a shameless plug, not really shameless plug, but you know, uh I don't know, dude. Like last season, I think the problem is that he's a power forward and like I don't know. Positions are weird now in the NBA where like a lot of guys play whatever position, but like to me, just watching him last season, I felt like him playing next to just one other center makes the most sense in the offense, and that's where he can be most effective. Like where he's matched up against, some slower guys because really, like he's like a small forward. He's like 6'8", like 215 maybe, but like an incredible athlete, like extremely quick, bouncy, like one of the best athletes in the whole league. But you play that against, I don't know, other power forwards in the league, like he's gonna have a lot of success, but I think they want to play Draymond. Obviously, you want to start Draymond, and then they also have been starting Trace Jackson Davis a lot. So it's like he he can definitely start next to those two, but I feel like his best position is power forward, and I think I don't know. That's kind of the reason why He's not breaking out, and like you said, who knows? He could be on a different team. I hope not, because I feel like he's really, I don't know. He showcased it to me. I think he has kind of star potential. Maybe not, like MVP level, but like I think he could be like an all-star level player if he's in the right system.
I kind of hope he goes to a different team because I'm not a fan of the Warriors. I do like Buddy Hield and Andrew Wiggins, but I gotta say I'm not really a fan of any other player on the Warriors. Even after all of the success and the dynasty that we were watching a couple years ago, I still can't give Steph his respect. I'll never give Draymond his respect.
Wow.
I hate Steve Kerr.
Wow.
But
Well, at least
all
you're
that being
honest, I
said,
guess.
all that hating, all that negativity, the Warriors have been very surprising. Just like how I said, Bucks could be the most disappointing team in the league. The Warriors could be the most surprising team in the league.
Yeah, man. I mean, it would be fun to watch this team get back to the playoffs. Steph Curry, obviously, um, an all-time great. You'd like to see him still kind of be on a competitive team until he retires. Um, but yeah, man, both of these teams. Shout out the Lakers. Shout out the Warriors. Shout out, all these teams are having some hot starts of the year. But I kind of want to transition now to this disappointment here because I feel like you've kind of been saying this a lot. So Tyrese Haliburton has not really had the start to his season that a lot of people maybe expected. Um, coming off being on Team USA, like I don't know, he wasn't playing, I guess, a ton. But I think normally when you're around a team setting like that, you come in and have a really solid season. I mean, a lot of other guys on that team are playing really well right now, so I don't know. But he's currently averaging the least amount of points and assists since his rookie season, and he's shooting. He's his worst field goal percentage and 3-point percentage also since his rookie season. So just not a great start to the year. The Pacers also, I think they beat the Celtics. They did that. That game was that was a good game. That was a great win for them. But really, they haven't had the start to the season I think they wanted to either. Um, and then on the other end, this is kind of, I don't know if I can really say that he's starting slow, but to me, based on the expectations that I think I had and then a lot of people had, um, Victor Wembanyama, I don't know. Not to say that he's playing poorly. He literally had a 5-by-5 game, right? So like, I mean, to say that he's playing bad is just hilarious. But I think a lot of people expected him to be, you know, an MVP level type player. And he's not really putting up the stats, I guess, that a lot of people expected. He's taking a lot of threes, and I think he's getting a lot of criticism for that as well, because he's not shooting very well from three. But who knows? That could change. Shots start falling, and then he's averaging 27 a game, and I wouldn't be saying this. But right now, Tyrese Haliburton, Victor Wembanyama, disappointments to me at least. What do you think?
Um, I would feel like I do feel like Hallie has been more of a disappointment because of how well he played last season, how well the Pacers did. You kind of just expected that to keep going. They have a very similar roster. I'm pretty sure at least 8 guys are returning from last year, so it's, same team. 14 points per game, almost 34% from the field, 24% from three. He's really just kind of stinking it up. Like there's no other way to put it. He's just not playing well. Like you said, they beat the Celtics, but they are only 2-4. And just really did not see this coming. I said it after, the first game that the Pacers played that he's the most overrated shooter in the league. I don't know if I said that on here, but I definitely said that in the chat. Um and he's kind of proven me right, and I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of happy to see it because They did my Knicks dirty, so this is what he gets.
Wow.
But on with Wembanyama, with Vic, um, other than his 3-point attempts, field goal percentage, and rebounding, which stayed the same. Currently, he has the same exact rebounding numbers as last year, and minutes played. Other than those four stats, every single stat that they track on Basketball Reference is down since last year. So, it's only, 4 or 5 games in.
Hmm.
He's still probably getting into, game shape. A lot of players are probably still getting into game shape. Training camp and practice is one thing, but playing in these games, it's different. I did not think that the Spurs were going to be very good, regardless of if Wemby was playing like an MVP. Maybe eighth, ninth seed, maybe sneaking into the play-in. But because of that, I didn't think they were going to be very good. I feel like Haliburton is definitely a little bit more disappointing. But then again, everybody was saying this Chris Paul and Wembanyama combo was going to break the league, but haven't you definitely have not seen that. But you made a point about him shooting a lot more threes. I just saw a quote, I think it was earlier today. Um, Greg Popovich is all for it. He wants Victor Wembanyama to be shooting more because, as tall as he is, Pop had said that he's not really a post player. He's more of a, perimeter guy because he can get to the basket off the dribble and all these other things. I don't know. I guess maybe teams kind of figured him out because being that tall can only give you so many, advantages. So once teams start, figuring out how to stop that size, he's not bullying anybody. He's not, all yoked. He's not going to be just muscling his way to the rim. So I don't know. I was expecting him to play a little bit better, but it's only his second season. Not everybody it doesn't take everybody one season to become an all-star. So
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think an interesting thing to look, I guess, continue to look at with Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs is like how high that their ceiling is, I guess, with him being like the best offensive player, I think. And not to say that he's a bad offensive player at all. Like he does a lot, on offense. But, maybe did they need a guy like who's not even considered a better player, I guess, than Victor Wembanyama? Like just off the top of my head, like someone like Donovan Mitchell, who you at the end of games he would have the ball, I guess, over Wembanyama. Like, would that make more sense? And then have him kind of be like the second option. Is that how you win a title with Wemby? Obviously, he's 21 years old and like could develop into the greatest scorer of all time. But like, I don't know. Uh, I think it's that's just interesting to me to look forward to. I guess with that team and his career in general, because I think defensively he can be the backbone of the best defense in the league, like pretty easily, just what he does. But like offensively, you know, is he going to be? I don't know. I guess just that number one option that they might need him to be.
no, I think that's a good point. I think at least right now at in his point of his career, it's only his second year. I think you do need like just a scorer. Like it doesn't have to be, any kind of all NBA player. Like Zach LaVine for me just came to mind for some reason. Like if they had Zach LaVine on that team, I think they would make the playoffs. I think they would, be a solid team. I think they'd be a 5 or 6 seed just with one addition. I'm not saying trade a couple of guys to get a scorer because they would need those guys. But if they can make a little move in the offseason for a good 20, 25 point per game scorer, they could
Yeah.
definitely have a nice team. Like at least right now, I don't think Wemby can be the number one scoring option. And going back to my boy Gilbert Arenas, even though it wasn't him, on his podcast, Nick Young had said that Wemby doesn't have that go-to move to get him, 8 to 10 points per game just with that one shot. Like Dirk had his post fade, you know, Jordan, Kobe had their post fades. Everybody's got that one move that they beat their defender, no matter who's guarding them, what point of the game it is. And that's just something that Victor Wembanyama's got to work on. He's second year player. He's not going to have, the deepest bag by any means, but it'll all come with time.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Like to me, and it's funny. I guess you could, say with Kawhi, like also being a Spur, I think like a go-to shot for him was just like a mini pull-up. Like he'd started to develop that at one point. I think probably around I don't know, maybe like 2015, 16, when he was in San Antonio, and there were times where I was like, wow, this is the most efficient shot you could get, and it's crazy that he gets it, as often as he does. Kevin Durant is the same way. Um, but yeah, dude, like I think you're right. I think whatever that shot is, I'm sure Wemby will find it and perfect it because he's just going to be a transcendent player. But yeah, just interesting to look. Zach LaVine, that's an interesting name though. Not to say that they would want to go and get him, but
Just
like
because,
yeah.
they just need a bucket getter. I mean, who knows what goes on over there in Brooklyn, but imagine if Cam Thomas came over to San Antonio. Like,
Okay, now that you mentioned that, I was debating on whether or not I wanted to do this one because, with Toby not here, but since you just mentioned Cam Thomas, I'm gonna do it anyway.
yeah, nice little transition.
Surprise. This is hilarious to me. And this is just, I don't know, whatever. Norman Powell and Ivica Zubac in Los Angeles. They got their new stadium. Maybe that's what it is. The wall. I don't know. But Norman Powell, those two have been off to a fantastic start. Norman Powell's averaging 25.4 points per game. Zubac is averaging 19 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting about 61% from the field. Like a great, almost 20 and 10, like almost 20 and 10 with 3 assists. Like that's, I mean, you have enough of these guys on your team, like you're probably going to make the playoffs, right? You forget that you still have James Harden, who's also been really great. Um, but yeah, so the Clippers in general, but I guess those two just have been. I mean, Norman Powell, I think, had 37 against the Nuggets. That was crazy. He was on a different type of heater that I've never seen. But and then like you said, out there in Brooklyn, Cam Thomas. I think he's currently ninth in the NBA in scoring, averaging 28 points per game, 28.2 points per game. But what's also as funny is his backcourt mate, Dennis Schroeder, is having a fantastic season, averaging about 22 points per game. I think they're one of the higher scoring backcourts in the whole league. Cam Thomas and Dennis Schroeder, just like everyone expected.
Hmm.
But I don't know. What do you think? Like between, I don't know. I just thought this was funny. But what do you think?
Well, I think that the Clippers players have been more surprising because, at least for me, I don't want to say I knew Cam Thomas was going to ball out, but I had an inkling that he was really, he's not the only guy, obviously, because Dennis Schroeder, we know he's been in the league a long time. We know what he's about. Other than maybe, his underperformance on the Lakers, he's been a hooper his whole career, especially over there in Atlanta. He's always been a great point guard. But on same thing with Norman Powell and Zubac. They've been in the league a long time, and they've never really been even a third option on any team that they've played for. So seeing them ball out like they have been, that's pretty surprising because a lot of people watch these players. A lot of casuals like my dad, for example. He'll see a game and he'll watch Norman Powell put up 15 and be like, "Oh, that guy Powell, he's all right? Like he's a nice player." And then let's say the Clippers are playing the Knicks and he puts up 25, he's going to be like, "Oh, what's this bum doing dropping 25 on us?"
Yeah,
So, I feel like a lot of people would see Norman Powell and Zubac and be like, "Where did this come from? They've never
yeah.
played like this before in their whole careers." So, I feel like the Clippers are more surprising, but I feel like that's also because I thought Cam Thomas was going to come out and be a 30-point per game scorer anyway. So,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just funny. Like Cam Thomas, and I wish Toby were here, man. He would have loved this. But I don't know. Like you said, like at a certain point, you average 28 points a game. Like, yes, he might be playing for the Brooklyn Nets, and who knows if any other team would, ask Cam Thomas to like kind of come in and be their number one option. But like, I don't know if he has a really solid team around him. Who knows? A guy that can just get a bucket really at will. Like, I don't know. I feel like he could be a valuable asset to really any team. But like you said, Norman Powell, and I mentioned I watched that game against the Nuggets. I feel like this team is really interesting, and it sucks that Kawhi isn't there because if he was healthy, like I think this would be, and maybe if Kawhi is in the lineup, Norman Powell and Zubac aren't playing as like they are, but I don't know. This is a really interesting team. James Harden looks really good to me. Like, I don't know if he has the burst that James Harden once did. He's not the, great vertical athlete that he once was, like, I guess, in Houston and, just kind of flying by guys on the perimeter. But he's still a really great offensive player, a great shooter, fantastic passer. Like, there are some players I think that get a lot of I don't know, respect, I guess, just for the amount of assists that they can average. And Harden averages a lot of assists, but I feel like so often Harden is like passing his teammates open in like windows that a lot of other players can't. And I feel like that's just so valuable. Um, but I don't know. Norman Powell, I mean, a great shooter. Zubats, I feel like always been like kind of an underrated center. So like you said, I don't know which one surprises me more. Probably the Clippers thing, but both, all these guys. Shout out all these guys. It's just been a fun season, man.
yeah, this season's got it's got a different feel to it. I don't know what it is. There's been a lot of, I don't want to say aggressiveness, but like people aren't afraid these players aren't afraid to get down and dirty. Like I've been seeing a lot of hustle, a lot of like, pardon my French, but there's been a lot of players who just aren't taking shit from anybody anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of players are, playing with their chest out, inviting contact, talking trash. I don't know what it's been, but keep seeing that guy Lethal Shooter on Instagram. He comments on everything. He comments on every single sports post that any page puts out. But I keep seeing him saying this NBA season is different. This NBA season is crazy, and I really agree with him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like once we hit that All-Star break, this season might go down in history.
Yeah, there's a definitely an energy dude. Like I was watching it was Celtics Hornets last night. And the Hornets were in the game like for the majority of the game. They looked really good. And then kind of down the stretch they just picked up some fouls. Like LaMelo had like two bad fouls on Jaylen Brown. They kind of just got out of hand. But like as that was starting to get out of hand, Grant Williams just comes in
Yep.
and decks Jason
Yep.
Tatum. Like it was I literally started laughing and I was like, dude, what is going on? Like he just basically just ran right in, did not go for the ball at all. And I was like, dude, this is hilarious. Like this is the energy I get from this NBA season, dude. Where it's just guys are just like, I don't know. They're just running around doing whatever they want. But
And I
it's been a
mean,
great fun, man.
the Hornets, I, those were one of those teams. The Hornets and the Pistons, I'm pretty sure, were the two teams who I were hoping would have a good season. Who knows what the Hornets are going to do? But like a lot of the teams that are good, like a lot of the good teams are really good teams. Like, the top when the season's over, I don't know, what the teams will be, but I feel like any of the top 6 seeds from the East or the West, anybody can win it. Really, anybody can win it. I mean, Celtics are probably a favorite. The healthy Sixers are probably a favorite. Uh, the Thunder are probably a favorite, but any team who gets in those top 6 seeds could really sneak into that finals.
Yeah, dude. It's gonna be fun. This season has been a blast. I've enjoyed it a ton, and I'm excited to continue to watch, man. Because yeah, like you said, once we hit that All-Star break, it's gonna be very interesting to see how these teams start to position themselves. But yeah, dude, I don't know. Shout out all these surprises that we've seen, and all these disappointments. Just figure it out. That's all you got to do. Just go in there, score some more points. Do whatever you need to do. Basically, it's so simple, right? It's so simple.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah. Score more
just
points, play better
yeah,
defense.
just
That
just
easy.
just make more shots, guys. What are you doing? But yeah, good episode. Sorry, Toby couldn't join us, but yeah. Any parting words?
Um, I'm sorry, Mikal Bridges, for talking down on you. You've been playing well these last couple games. Uh, Karl Anthony Towns guy just played through a sprained wrist and dropped 44, I think. So what up, Cat? And Joel Embiid keeps sitting out. That guy, apparently he's not very happy with the way people have been talking about him missing these games, but keep missing these games, keep sitting out. It sucks that you're hurt, but miss as many games as you want, my friend. Same with you, Paul George. I don't want the Sixers to be anywhere near the playoffs.
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah.
And you know what? I hope your Nuggets turn it around, Jory. I hope your Nuggets figure out what's going on.
If they don't, we're gonna see more of this guy yelling in refs' faces like that.
We might need a little trade deadline action out of the Nuggets. But yeah,
Yeah.
really all I got. Actually, Haliburton keeps thinking it up too.
Oh boy, you just going on everyone. Yeah. I don't know. Um, shout out the Rockets.
Yeah,
I
shout
think
out the
I
Rockets.
think they're playing well. That's all I gotta say. But yeah. Until next time, we'll be seeing you.